Today is the day we're going to be winterizing our RV for the very first time. Now, if you've been following our channel, you know we've owned this RV since about October of 2014, so that's coming up on about 4 winters. So we've never had to winterize the RV before because when we first bought it in October, the couple we bought it from had already winterized the RV. In 2015, when we were full-fledged on RV renovations, again, we didn't have to winterize the RV because we had never used it yet. And then in 2016, this past winter, we were living in it full time, so we never experienced freezing temperatures, at least to the point where our pipes would freeze. This is kind of inopportune timing, as you may know, because Jenny and I will be moving back into the RV full time in late December, early January. So there's about a month time frame where we're going to have to winterize the RV to ensure that the pipes won't freeze due to cold temperatures. We're located here in Nashville, Tennessee, but even though we're in the mid-south, it will still get into kind of sketchy weather, so we want to make sure that those pipes are going to be good to go. So let's go ahead and start in on the winterization process. The first step you need to do is you need to drain all of your holding tanks. This includes the freshwater tank, the gray water tank, and the black water tank. Now, as many of you know, we have a composting toilet installed in our RV, so we don't actually use our black water tank, so I'm not going to show you guys how to do that. But what I need to do is I need to drain the freshwater tank. There's a drain plug underneath the tank itself. Then I'm also going to be draining the gray water tank and running water through the lines to go into the gray water tank so I get it nice and flushed out. And I'm going to hook up the water line to the city water hookup so that we have unlimited water to just rinse out that gray water tank. So let's go ahead and get those done. Okay, so I've got the fresh water draining right now, as you can see, and what I had to do was I had to go in underneath our bed where our freshwater tank was, and you'll notice a valve. If you don't know where yours is, the valve should be somewhere at the bottom part of the tank because obviously it's going to drain out all of the water. So look for a valve or some sort of a knob that you can turn or twist that will let all of this water out. So now that fresh water is draining, I'm going to take the time to go ahead and drain the gray water tank, run water through the lines, and make sure everything is flushed out. Now I've got the wastewater hose hooked up to the gray water drain, and obviously I'm wearing protective gloves. Don't forget that step. But now what I'm going to do is just pull the plug on the gray water drain and make sure that it's draining okay. Okay guys, the gray water tank is fully drained. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run the fresh water through both sides of the sink in our kitchen as well as in the shower. Now, most of you guys will have more places where fresh water comes out, like a bathroom sink or an RV toilet, but for us, we have a pretty minimalistic RV, so those are our only 2 water sources inside the RV. The gray water tank is drained and rinsed, and I'm still waiting for the freshwater tank to fully drain. But what I'm going to do now is show you guys how I'm going to blow out all of the water out of the lines in the freshwater system of the RV. I'm going to use my Air portable air compressor. I also bought a air regulator as well as a blowout plug. This will help me connect the air compressor to the city water hookup so that we can get all of the lines blown out and make sure that our RV is fully winterized. So what I have here is I have the blowout plug connected to our air compressor, and what I'm going to do, instead of using this pressure air regulator because it actually won't fit with this blow plug, go figure, I'm going to do it in a little different way. So I've got this water pressure regulator right here. I don't know how much that's actually going to help, but I'm going to attach it to the end of it, and what I'm going to do is when I turn on my air compressor to blow out the lines, I'm going to make sure that I have my lines open that I want to blow out first, because this actually is rated for about 100 psi, and as you may know, RV water systems are not rated for 100 psi. You have to keep it around 50 to 60 psi. So what I'm going to do is just hook this up to the city water hookup, turn on the air compressor, but I'm going to make sure that my hot and cold water lines are already open in the kitchen faucet. Let's start there. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to be opening the hot and the cold water lines before I even turn my air compressor on, just so that I make sure that the pressure is all going to escape out of this faucet. So I don't want to make sure that I have a closed system, because if I do, I could damage the water and the plumbing in the RV, which I don't want to do. I've already done that before, but let's go ahead and do this and get all the water out of this line. I'm going to go outside, turn on the air pump, and you guys can see what it does. There.
What's that?
That's all coming out of the hot line because there's more pressure coming through that side of the line.
Is it damaging the one side?
No. So I've still got my air compressor on, and I've got the hot and the cold water lines still open in the water faucet in the kitchen. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the hot and the cold water lines to the shower, and then I'm going to close the ones to the kitchen faucet. So let's go ahead and do that. Open that. Open that. Now, let me go ahead and shut those. So I'm going to shut one of these to make sure the cold water line is drained, and then I'm going to open up the hot line and shut the cold line. Alright, so I have the air compressor still on as well as the shower faucet still open. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the water out of our onboard water pump. So I'm going to flip on the water pump so that all of the water gets run out, but just make sure if you do this or when you do this to only run it for maybe 10 to 15 seconds. You don't want that pump to be running dry because it'll burn out the motor. Okay guys, we've got all of the lines drained in both the kitchen faucet as well as the shower faucet. You get it to where it's maybe 95 to 99% drained. It doesn't have to be completely dry. You just need to make sure that if that water freezes, it has room to expand. Now, the thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to make sure that all of the lines are open in the system, meaning your hot and cold water lines on all of your connections, all of your places where fresh water comes out of. Most of you guys will have many more places where fresh water can come out, including bathroom sinks, RV toilets, dishwashers, laundry machines, ice makers, anything like that. Make sure that you blow out all the lines and just follow the instructions on whatever appliance it is to get it all winterized. Lastly, I wanted to mention if you have a tanked hot water heater, you're going to want to make sure to do special precautions for that. There are other videos that go into that specific thing to winterize a tanked hot water heater. We just installed an instant hot water heater, and I looked at the instructions. So for me, when I was turning on the hot water, the air compressor was running all of the water through that unit, so that now it's winterized. There's not enough water in those lines that can freeze and damage the piping. Okay guys, now that we have that all done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this RV safe antifreeze. Keep in mind we're not putting this into the freshwater lines, we're only putting this into the gray water drains. This includes the kitchen sink in both drains as well as our shower drain. So any place that there's going to be a P-trap where there's water held, you want to make sure that this antifreeze gets exposed to that so that you don't have to worry about your pipes freezing. By the way, I did end up shutting the gray water drain so that all this antifreeze is going to get stuck in the gray water tank. Cool, we made it back to the storage unit, safe and sound. There are a few more things I wanted to touch upon before we wrap this video up. I wanted to mention, don't forget to shut your freshwater drain valve. We left that open on our trip back from the RV park to the storage unit, and now the freshwater tank is about as empty as it's going to get. So we went ahead and shut that, and also we do have a water filter, an inline water filter that's underneath our bed that we installed. It's a third-party installation, but what I did was I removed that Filtrete filter so that we can take it with us to where we live, and so it won't get into freezing temperatures. Okay guys, I think that pretty much sums up the video. If you like this video, definitely give us a like down below. It lets YouTube as well as Jenny and I know that we're producing quality content. Also, if you have any questions, hit us up in the comments below. And as always, I will see you guys on the next video. Harvey really had to go.